And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquala, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Rasta Report here on LIV Radio, LIV TV, here on livinginblack.com. My name is Keidi Awadu, aka the Conscious Rasta. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come in from 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you, and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives. We deal with entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Monday, the 23rd day of February, year 2026 in the Western calendar, the Gregorian calendar. This corresponds to the year 6266 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we realign our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIV Radio, LIV TV, here on livinginblack.com. I really enjoy introducing the show most days. I hope you're not tired of hearing that. You've heard it for years, 10 years or more. But we deal with all of these topics. And you can tell by the books that I've written, we do the best we can to well qualify ourselves to talk about these subjects and talk about these topics. Let me hit one more button here, and then we are ready to go with today's show. I do have a green screen, so let me turn that off. And also, we're just happy to be here, happy to be with you, and happy to be living in black.com. This joy absolutely is a joy to be with you on a daily basis. Here's what we have on the table for today's discussion. We are, again, this is African, our story presentation. We're taking 2 months, February, the shortest month of the year, and March, put them together to tell one of the longest histories in world history. But as I am telling this story about this extremely long world history, I am also showcasing my books. Let me see 1 second. Let me get this headphone set right. I'm showcasing my books. And believe it or not, I am one of the most well-written books. I have one of the largest catalogs of self-published books that's ever been done. And let me get this microphone right. What is happening with this thing? It's not fitting on my ear. Okay, I got it on the wrong upside down. It was weird. Here we go. We're up now. All right. So here's what we have today. Today is 2 books. Bear with me. Have to get it. African History Broadcast number 16. We're doing 2 books a day. This is our 16th day. Furiously Vegan and the Blackest Soil. Africa Can Feed the World. Today on the Conscious Rasta Report, we're diving deep into 2 transformative books that I have written. In hour 1, Furiously Vegan, 21 Steps to Youthful Health, to restore youthful vitality, to reclaim our youthful vitality through nutrient-dense, plant-based living and disciplined lifestyle factor. Nutrient-dense, plant-based, and a very disciplined lifestyle. In hour 2, we're going to switch into the Blackest Soil. Africa Can Feed the World. This book, and I have the green screen on, so they're not going to show up unless, well, you know what the book looks like. Africa Can Feed the World, based upon a scientific roadmap to agricultural preeminence for the 21st century. We're going to talk about how Africa will achieve this agricultural preeminence by tuning the soil, turning the soil, planting new crops, and reclaiming our seed stock, all of the above. If you're tuned in today, if you're serious about personal rejuvenation and Pan-African food sovereignty, then recently, I released the book, Biocolonialism, the Technocrats' Assault Against African Fertility and Food. So I've been writing about this. I've been knowing about this for quite some time. And I'm taking you along on this journey to the best of my abilities. But you have to have the will. We all have to have the will, the discipline, to discipline ourselves to apply our natural resources. I sent a note to my brother Ali today, and I hope he's tuned in because he's a good brother. And I really admire and appreciate having him on my team. I had so many of you on my team for Africa One, Queen Kashiba, Brother Shabaka, Brother Eddie. So many of you are on my team, and I claim you personally. I do admire you. I love you all. You're good to me, and I promise, I vow to be good to you as well. So let's get started with these books. Furiously Vegan. I love this book. I really do. I truly love the book. Let me give you an introduction. Your life is special. You are awesome and unique. Yet all of these strategies and actions that I share herein are universal and should be of measurable benefit to everyone who adopts them as empowering goals into habits. Empowering goals. The benefits from this pathway will be quickly evident. I'm talking about 4-5 days. Turning them into habits will extend these rewards for an extended lifespan because of the specificity of what we inculturate. In time, you will grow stronger with all the benefits of this lifestyle will provide. Your awesome and unique life rises to the heightened level of accomplishment. Nothing should prevent us from manifesting change and transformation for ourselves, our family, our communities, and the larger society. These 21 steps to restore youthful vitality contribute to creating the holistic life experience that is your right from birth. Although most people will not master these steps, that is no obstacle to you and me achieving the best possible outcome. I have assembled these 21 steps during 66 years of living at the time of publication, of living this ever expanding base of experience and wisdom. In recommitting myself to these practices, I envision an additional 60 years and longer of cultivating this longevity discipline. A key part of my massive transformative purpose is to share these keys to life. I hope and pray that the 21 steps will touch your life in such a profound way that you might be able to rise to a lifetime of empowering instruction, inspiration, and excitation. So I say greetings to each and every one of you. I see you in the house today, my beloved Sister for Africa One. Greetings to you in the UK. It's always is a pleasure to see you showing up in the chat. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio. Take a deep breath and let's just do the best we can to do the best that we can do. And so what we're going to do right now, and I want to say greetings to you, my brother Eddie McCrory. It is absolutely a pleasure to see you as well on the domestic side, on the YouTube. It is absolutely an honor and a pleasure to be with you both. So we're going to go into it. Bear with me. Let me just clear my throat. Let me clear my throat. Sip my tea. Don't slug it. Sip it. And let's go into Furiously Vegan. Page turner it is. Let me give you just a little bit from the table of contents. Let me tell you about the table of contents. First, I introduced the book, and I'm going to read that introduction. Step 1 of 21 steps. Step 1, set and get your goals. Set and get your goals. Step 2, it's the food, stupid. We're having fun with it. Step 3, control your weight. Do it deliberately. Step 4, don't stress. Step 5, breathe. Step 6, hydration. Step 7, nutrition. Food is for life. That's serious. Step 8 is sleep. Step 9, exercise. Step 10, fasting and detox. Step 11, mind, body, spirit matrix. I'm going to have to read that one. Step 12, supplementation. Step 13, cell rejuvenation. 14, challenging conventionality and mediocrity. Ooh. Step 15, dump all depressing influences. Step 16, define your MTP. What's MTP? Massive transformative purpose. Step 17, master your culinary artistry. Step 18, teach what you know. Know what you teach. Step 19, grow your organic food. Step 20, find your inner worth and value. And step 21, read, study, grow, affirm. Read, study, grow, affirm. Read, study, grow, affirm. And then that's it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take you to the introduction to the book right now. And I also have this, and the book is full of colorful photographs. And the one on the left, I'm really proud of that. That was about, I was 66 when I took the picture. And I don't look 66. I look 65 or younger. And on the right-hand side, that was taken in London. I was there in London with Les Brown. And Les Brown made this comment. And this is a beautiful comment. He commented, it says, Keidi Awadu, a wonderful, positive, radiating soul in a humble package. Les Brown. And I received that. And as I walked into the room, Les was speaking to the room, and he acknowledged me as soon as I walked in. And so I stood up, acknowledged the audience, and so that's just a beautiful, beautiful photograph. To me, that is a timeless photograph that will last forever. And then I have this quote from Les. He writes, he said, you decide what your limits are, and you decide your level of success. You are responsible for the time that you spend on this planet. He's so right. Les Brown's such a beautiful guy. I had a wonderful opportunity to spend a good deal of time a few years ago when that was taken with him. He was here in Las Vegas for about, I think, a summer. And while he was here, excuse me, but I just dropped. While he was here, he ate living superfood. And it was an honor and a pleasure for me to feed Les. He is a good brother. Excuse me, I blew my nose on the screen. That's not allowed. But we're going to go forward. Here's the introduction to the book. 21 steps to restore youthful vitality. I begin with a quote from me. The future belongs to those that are best prepared to create that future today. In this book, I write this book as an invitation for you to witness my sanctum of supreme health and wellness. The sacred space that I intend to share with you is not necessarily so secret. Yet, due to its immense complexity, it's likely that very few people will get a chance to explore and mimic this environment with as much engagement as I am offering herein. I have discovered a functional, practical, quote, fountain of youth. For me, this is not mere symbology, myth, allegory, or fable. This world has become very real. The insights, activities, and rewards that it has long provided me might seem fantastic, yet it is so highly rewarding and yields such a great return on investment that I feel a sacred spiritual obligation to share this experience with anyone who would be bold enough to step up to claim it for their own well-being. For anyone familiar with my extensive public advocacy, many times you've heard me state that, quote, food is nature's most perfect medicine. You know what I was going to say. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. You said it along with me. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. For Africa One, she says, please be good to me. No slurping, please. I do the best I can, but sometimes it's a little hot. I try and get my tea water as hot as possible. I put the cayenne pepper in it, and if I don't slurp it, I'm going to burn my lips. So bear with me. It's not so bad. She's just messing with me. Some of you might have even gotten a bit annoyed at my too frequent boasts about being, quote, the healthiest senior citizen in the world, the tangibility of which is just too powerful for me to suppress. I love being healthy, vital, youthful looking, and vibrantly energetic. I have a great appreciation that I have been graced with a sharp mind, to the point that when introduced by some of the internet broadcasters of our generation, it is almost embarrassing when they rave over the diversity of functional accomplishments that I bring to the conversation. I remember those inspiring lyrics sung by Donny Hathaway from his seminal song, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. That's where it's at. I claim that mantle. I am young. I am gifted. And I am proud to be black. In fact, a greeting that I often share when someone asks me, how are you doing? My frequent response is, we black and we shine. Many people are motivated by the abundance of life. Unfortunately, too many seem to be excited primarily by scarcity, pain, fear, anxieties regarding the future, and demonstrable anger because they feel they are getting left behind, while in contrast, others prosper at the victim's expense. We each have the option to see the proverbial cup as half empty or half full. We need just to be assured that it is our conscious decision to express optimism or pessimism, that we have thought through the situation before us and can justify the position that we take. Welcome to the world I'm describing as, quote, furiously vegan. I am in charge within this space, the master of my fate and captain of my soul. The spectrum of chronic and acute diseases plaguing too many of my fellow citizens cannot penetrate my natural health immunity. I am too strong, too fast, energetic, nourished, and mentally reinforced to be used and abused by the vulture-like corporations that are sucking the very lifeblood from individuals, families, communities, and the nation due to their parasitic medicine and healthcare practices. I am furiously vegan, and I thrive on nature's perfect medicine. My medicine is the most delicious of all because I invested the time and effort to master the culinary arts. This exciting, fulfilling, and masterful life is the product of my Kuji Chagoliya self-determination practices. My world is overflowing with an abundance, and I have surrounded myself with the most talented people of a generation. Yet all that I experience is according to an ever-expanding master plan. Thus I shout to all four corners of the universe, I am furiously vegan. That's the introduction. Next, we have the first chapter, Set and Get Your Goals. I begin with this quote from Matt Mayberry. Achieving our goals and dreams is fantastic, but that is not the most important thing about setting your goals. The most important thing is the type of person that we become along the way. I love that quote. The most important thing is the type of person we become along the way. And I just realized I'm drinking my morning tea, but I didn't put any tea bags in it. I put everything else in it, and it's definitely very good. But putting the green tea bag in it and a black tea bag would have definitely helped. Old habits die hard, and new habits form quickly. I'm going to give you this bullet point, and then we're going to move quickly through the book because the book is quite lengthy, and I got a lot of text. When asked to consider a dollar value to key aspects of living, nothing can be completely objective. It is all subjective. How could one attribute a straightforward and consistent monetization of fundamental life processes? Consider putting hard numbers on what it would be worth to, 1, shed 35 pounds of weight that has accumulated at the rate of a pound per year from age 25 years. Point 2, create a reliable process for resistance to chronic diseases. How are you going to monetize that? How are you going to value that? Point 3, reduce annual medical expenses by 90% for 4 decades. Well, current medical expenses are about $12,000 per person. So over the course of 4 decades, $25,000 per year per person over 4 years, 48 years. You know what I'm saying. How do you rejuvenate your body systems functioning to that of someone in their early 30s? How do you value presenting the physical appearance of someone half your actual age? Celebrate a steady abundance of limitless energy. Expand your life expectancy by at least 30 years over the average. How do you value that? I go on, there are more points. To put a price on each of these 10 line items would be quite difficult. But, for example, if gaining weight at the rate of a pound a year could be permanently undone, then spending $100 each to unload those weight years would be the deal of the century to anyone who has spent thousands per decade on weight loss programs. Likewise, the annual cost burden for chronic illnesses such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, infectious diseases, and metabolic disorders has frequently been shown to exceed tens of thousands per year. Therefore, a decade of avoiding cancer would provide over $480,000 in medical savings. Consider diabetes. Within the U.S., medical expenditures of nearly $17,000 a year. Preventing a decade of diabetes with its related disorders would save $168,000. Likewise, people spend money on youth enhancement, surgery, and skincare products that can similarly entail thousands per year. And let alone fixing sexual performance problems, you might only imagine what people are likewise willing to commit thousands or tens of thousands each year to recover from such disability. We're hard pressed to put a reasonable cost valuation on attaining excellent health, disease reversal, and healthy longevity. But I bet that if one really tried to place a cash value on each of these 10 line items, it might come to where you would conclude that optimal health and wellness throughout a lifespan that is 30 years longer than average is a multi-million dollar return on investment. Living beyond the reach of all the disease and disorder might literally be considered priceless. What is it worth to you? The supreme evaluation of health and wellness is how I have chosen to live. And this book is intended to provide you with a similar outcome as you commit to following this pathway. The future belongs to those best prepared to create that future today. That quotation has become a significant meme and mantra to me at this phase of my life. I must admit and testify that at age 66, I feel fantastic. I've learned over these decades to manage all aspects of my health and wellness. This regimen includes breathing techniques, nutrition, exercise, proper rest, cleansing the body, keeping dehydrated, and stress management to minimize effects in my life. I'm going to skip forward. Life proceeds in 7-year cycles. A critical part of my wellness strategy is understanding life cycles and planning to rise within each phase. Decades ago, I was instructed in and discovered the significance of the fact that our chronological years have a strong tendency to group in 7-year cycles. These exist from childbirth, and I imagine they will continue in these distinct phases well beyond the centenarian mark. 1. From birth to 7 years. We are attached to our mothers as primary life giver and nurturer. 2. From 7 to 14 years. The child becomes independent, exploring the immediate world while still relying on our parents for fundamental security. From 14 to 21 years, the child goes through adolescence, wherein the body goes through a spectrum of hormonal shifts and physical growth to become a fully grown adult. From 21 to 28 years, the young adult in the prime of their physical condition, as the body has prepared for the peak of fecundity, the capacity for sexual replication, we also start to project ourselves into career patterns that will accompany us throughout life. From 28 to 35 years, this is spent securing a mate and engaging in childbearing. We learn the true meaning of, quote, unconditional love. And now the family has become the center of our personal affairs. From 35 to 42, beyond the family, we now integrate our attention and growth into building on the larger community levels to include national and international influence. From 42 to 49 years, our impact on the world becomes more apparent and important as we strive toward leadership within those fields of personal expertise that we have developed. From 49 to 56 years, the world provides feedback on our significant contributions as we realize the immense power to transform society and make good in the world. From 56 to 63 years, the idea that we are a living master and powerful influence becomes a foundation for the lifelong, massive, transformative purpose we have been living. This phase is when we begin to enjoy the role of grandparents, projecting our love and nurturing of our children onto another generation, for which we have the greatest hope. From 63 to 70 years, we seek to teach, invest, transform society and the larger world to benefit our children's children and all the youth across the larger community. Our personal experiences and the rewards that we've gained from them are now readily apparent, as we wish to serve as platforms upon which younger generations will stand as they reach ever closer to the stars. At this point, I am age 70. I can only imagine what 70 to 77 years, 77 to 84 years, and 84 to 91 years, and beyond will manifest. I strive to only write about and instruct in that which I know, but I am quite enthusiastic about these cycles ahead. I plan to live to the ripe age of 125. I am quite serious about that destination. So I'll write to you in a few years about the intimacies of these next life cycles that come. And that would be a good book, wouldn't it be? Next The infinite power of I am. And I am skipping over parts of this. The most powerful words in the universe are I am, which while we so commonly use these words as a preface to statements that we share throughout the day, yet I don't think most of us truly comprehend the infinite power that can be wielded by proper comprehension and use of these three letters, I-A-M. I am. According to my spiritual philosophy and within many religious orders, these are the first words spoken in the universe as the master creator spoke self into being. I am. And the universe began. In so many ways, I understand this to be the beginning of creating so many patterns of life. This can range from our psychological state to our relations with others and one's future destiny or current relative position within society. Yet, because we don't understand the creative power of I am, we too often lend its power to negative, destructive, self-limiting, or inconsequential utterances. For example, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I am so angry at that person, these children, the government, other agencies of power, etc. I am having the hardest time as soon at accomplishing something that would likely be good for us. I am going to get to that as soon as I finish these other low priorities for which I am fatally procrastinating. There are many other examples where this power of I am is being neglected, abused, or otherwise distorted to prevent forward motion toward our goals rather than facilitating movement. This can be turned around to understand better how semantics and grammar excite and empower our progress rather than make excuses for non-action. Thus, I am sick and tired can be transformed by stating it as I am in the process of improving my health and energy to accomplish much more meaningful gains in my life. I am so angry at could be stated as that person's behavior was unacceptable, and because I am the wiser and more caring person, I will carefully correct them so that our relationship continues to grow and prosper. And I convert me these other I ams. Just one more. I am having the hardest time might be more productive if stated as I am engaging some of the most challenging problem solving that I have encountered. Thus, the skills and resources that I bring to this issue are reaching the highest capacity of my life to date. And that's really good. Set and get your goals. It's certainly within the power of I am. Set your goals. Get your goals. Make no excuses. The only excuse you need is I have to succeed at this. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I am because I am. So here's a set of steps to set and get your goals. And now I'm going to start moving a little quicker. Point 1, write a comprehensive list of what your primary goals are. 2, select 3 to 6 of these goals as of supreme priority, worthy of hours of attention daily. Step 3, select a period wherein which you will significantly advance to completing these goals. Step 4, verify the precise time to begin your most intense focus and implement the strategies to accomplish your goals. Step 5, allocate time each day for medium to high intensity exercise and be strict with this set aside. Step 6, make time each day for food preparation and optimize nutrition. Step 7, post your list of goals and places where you will be constantly reminded of your priorities. Step 8, isolate yourself from people who dismiss your goals or plant negative seeds of doubt. Step 9, stay in sync with those whose self-determined goals in life align with your own. Step 10, journal or otherwise write each day about your progress, challenges, and recurrent themes. Step 11, set aside time each day to reflect contemplate and meditate upon your highest priorities. And I have next a quote from Pablo Picasso, who wrote, "Our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan in which we most fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. There is no other route to success." Pablo Picasso. And here I have this gorgeous picture. Look at your brother. That's probably about 65 or 66 years young. That's a lovely picture, isn't it? I haven't used that one in quite some time. I need to pull that one out. Another next page. And the book is loaded with large pictures and everything. I wanted to inspire people. Here's a quote from Dr. Benjamin Mays. "The tragedy of life does not lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach." Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. One second here. Let me clear my throat. One way to keep momentum going is to have constantly greater goals. That from Michael Korda. Then, chapter 3, it's a food stupid. Every living cell in your body, this quote from Jeanette Jenkins, every living cell in your body is made from the food you eat. If you constantly eat junk food, then you will have a junk body. And it is true. It's the food stupid. And you can do better than that if you have a plan to do better. Remember on the previous page, I quoted Dr. Benjamin Mays, who said, you must have a plan. The tragedy of life does not lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach. So you can do better, but you must have a plan. I've developed a system for full spectrum hyper nutrition that reinforces a healthy mind, body, and spirit. I have a background in cellular and molecular biology that spans some 47 years of my adult life. I began working as a lab tech at age 19 in the field of reproductive biology. Many years of intensive study later, I've achieved mastery of a spectrum of biological sciences. I teach from this position of knowledge, and I only teach that which I know with certainty. I teach what I know because I've centered my life around this body of wellness and nutrition knowledge. I encourage you to make your nutrition an exciting adventure and not anything that seems like a burden or unreasonable investment of your time and efforts. I am constantly amazed at the high percentage of the population that will choose to continue the pathway of disease causation pathogenesis, despite being shown key insights about nutrition. This benign neglect is good for the medical pharmaceutical complex, which of the larger population. How do you feel that profiteers are nobody listening to me? Because I had the microphone off. Let me go back. I'm going to start this page again. Hard rules for nutrition wisdom. And I'm going to have to go back and cut that out. A few people have checked in. Ote 100J in the house. Read, study, grow, affirm. That's the vibes. And he writes also, wealth, perfect health is my natural state. He said, I would love it if you could rewind on how to correctly set and achieve my goals. Set and get your goals. And I hope I didn't have the microphone turned off when I did that. But there's a lot to it. I can't rewind to it. I need to sell you the book. I'm sorry. I don't try not to go back and rewind, although I am going to have to back up a page because I had my microphone off while I cleared my throat. Hard rules for nutritional wisdom. Number 1, the human anatomy is not designed to eat meat. Thus, humans are the only meat-eating animals that must cook their meat to a higher than natural temperatures, or eating undercooked meat can kill them. Point 2, as we adhere to the rules of physical anatomy, it should be abundantly clear that the best foods for human consumption are fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and oils safely extracted from these. Point number 3. Here is a most commonly true rule. If a, quote, food is advertised on television, it is probably not good for you. Very rarely will this caution fail you. Point 4. There is a great deal of wisdom in the idea of, quote, eating the colors. There's a strong degree of synchronicity between the inherent mechanisms of the brain and the visual impact that we gain from seeing bright colors in the world, especially vividly colored foods. Point 5, or point 6, eating fresh, raw, plant-based, and organic food produces the best outcome for human nutrition. Next point, excessive consumption of sugar, fats, processed foods, and chemical additives is associated with a negative impact on the brain's learning centers and neurological disruption. Next point, if it is unnaturally white, it's probably not right. Couple more points. The recent appearance of a spectrum of plant-based meat substitutes should be looked at with extreme caution. So much of this new push toward highly processed vegetable proteins is from the same corporations that have presented toxic products for decades. Can we trust them now? Next point, there are 8 basic and essential classes of nutrients needed to sustain our health. These are, number 1, hydration, number 2, vitamins, 3, minerals, 4, protein-based amino acids, 5, digestive enzymes, 6, carbohydrates, 7, essential fatty acids, and 8, fiber. 8. And then there's more points, more bullet points. I do have a beautiful picture of nuts and seeds, colorful nuts and seeds and fruits, all just wonderful. That's real food. We don't have to cook that to 160 degrees or it can kill us. No, that's real food. Number 3, step 3 of the 21 steps, control your weight. An anonymous quote, health is a state of complete harmony of the body, the mind, and spirit. When one is free from physical disabilities and mental distractions, the gates of the soul open. And then I go on to talk about my book, Get the Weight Off, 30 Days to a New You. I'm not going to repeat that because we did do that book separately. Instead of focusing on confusing mathematics centered around counting calories, focus on full spectrum hypernutrition, getting the widest spectrum of the 8 critical nutrient classes we need to remain healthy. Get these nutrients in the form of superfoods, which have the highest concentration of nutrition available and the most digestible form. These are just two more points. Because high caliber superfoods with their maximum nutrient density contribute so much more to dietary integrity, you can get by eating less while feeling fully satisfied. One of the keys to reaching satiation is to chew your food completely. Chew your food 32 to 48 times. There's a hard rule. Chew your food. Slow your roll and count anywhere from 32 to 48 chews before you swallow. In addition, liquefy your food before swallowing significantly increases digestibility. And point 3, fresh, fully ripened seasonal fruits are perfect for getting your maximum healthy on. Eating local fruit within the natural rhythm of the seasons brings us into harmony with nature. If you've ever lived with fruit trees, you know very well the benefits of eating fresh plums, cherries, grapes, figs, apples, or oranges when these trees are at the peak of harvest. The fact is, humans primarily evolved as fruit eaters. Next, I talk about ketosis, burning fat as fuel. This is really about get your weight down. Consistency is a must is the next chapter. 10 steps to optimizing your weight. That appears on page 18. Point 1, begin each day with 20 to 30 minutes of medium to high intensity workout. Develop the habit of celebrating your fitness. 2, from the earliest waking hours, stay hydrated. I recommend 24 ounces of filtered water before eating any solid foods. 3, consume freshly made vegetable juices at least one meal substitute during the day. Point 4, stay active and avoid extended periods of sedentary non-activity. Number 5, avoid acid-forming, pro-inflammatory foods. Adopt at least a vegan diet or higher. Point 6, eat the highest percentage of enzyme-rich raw foods possible. Point 7, eat as many of the high nutrition superfoods as possible in your daily and weekly diet. And nothing from a cow is a superfood. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The beef, the milk, the cheese, none of it. Ice cream, no. Point 8, eat a wide variety of fruits throughout the week. I recommend over 7 servings of fresh fruits every day. And my apology for messing up that sound for Africa One. I had muted the mic to clear my throat and then didn't unmute the mic, and now my throat needs clearing again. My apology. Point 9, slow down the pace at which you eat and chew your food. Sip smoothies slowly, allowing your saliva to dilute all the foods that pass through your mouth at every meal. Point 10, read and study constantly toward the aim of saturating your mental focus and intellect with appropriate strategies, tactics, practices, and habits that support youthful vitality. Step 4, don't stress. We talk about mental stresses and environmental stresses, including, I talked about this in the book, Living Super in Paradise. We identified such stressors as difficult personal relationships with family and friends, loss of a loved one through death or divorce, financial worries, difficulties, persisting poverty, work overload and occupational stress, loss of job or inability to find work, noise pollution, chronic illness and pain, poor self-image or body image, prolonged anxiety, phobias or other psychological disorders, sleep deprivation, one of the most important, excessive exposure to negative news media and entertainment, excessive engagement with mobile communication devices, smartphones, domestic violence or sexual trauma, combative political and societal affairs, and it goes on. The first step to overcoming a negative impact on one's health and well-being is to identify these stresses in our lives and to engage creative strategies for overcoming each of them. By any means necessary, remove the negative impacts of mental stressors from your reality and life. So then I have a whole page from 21, eliminate physical and environmental stressors, a bunch of different things. I identify each of them, get rid of them. And I talked to somebody the other day. I just met the brother. He was a nice brother too, but this brother, he was bragging about eating pork and bacon and all this other stuff, and he smoked cigarettes. And I say, man, you're too intelligent to be relating this so casually, so comfortably. And so I'm hoping by the end of our conversation, he decided to change. He did invest $75 in books before he left. But we're going to have to work on him. Unfortunately, you must take responsibility for your mental state and life conditions. Don't let nobody bring you down. And don't attribute your life situation to nobody. It is your ultimate empowered condition. You are indeed the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul, as the poet William Ernst Henley stated in his classic Invictus. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the soul to scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And this picture jumps right at you on the next page. I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. That's a powerful, powerful image there. And she looks determined to accept and get her goals. Step 5, breathe. Anonymous quote, relax. You are enough. You do enough. Breathe extra deep. Let go and just live right now in the moment. And I begin by writing this subchapter, you are how you breathe. When it comes to prioritizing the critical nutrients we need to survive, most people don't think of the importance of oxygen exchange. So it should be no great leap of imagination to link the priority of breath management to the idea of living a furiously vegan lifestyle. But this is true. And when you come to fully realize the profoundness of the breath in our daily, hourly management of ultimate wellness, you will have advanced a tool that is very powerful towards bringing order to your health regimen. And then we go on teaching different techniques of the breath, engaging in a minimum of 20 minutes a day, at least once a day, that provokes pulmonary and cardiovascular stimulation. These aerobic exercises challenge our lung capacity, the VO2 max, circulatory system, and oxygen carbon dioxide exchange systems to ever greater efficiency. And one more, develop techniques to hold your breath for longer periods. With practice, I have developed the capacity to hold my breath for a full 2 minutes at various times throughout my life. In addition, I can readily hold my breath for at least a full minute with just a minute of preparation. And then there's box breathing. I'm doing box breathing now before I go to bed. That's where you inhale for 5, hold it for 5, exhale for 10, and then between each breath, I will extend that fully exhaled state as long as I possibly can. And I have this photograph here on the next page, and it talks about the Black Lives Movement. We can't breathe. Tyranny against police. Well, you can breathe. You can breathe. You must breathe. Step 6, hydration. Nothing is safer, nothing is softer or more flexible than water, yet nothing can resist it. That quote from Lao Tzu. Nothing is softer or more flexible than water, yet nothing can resist it. Water is life. Dehydration is death. What does water do for the body? Point 1, helps to optimize cardiovascular health. 2, it is the foundation for the blood to deliver oxygen and nutrients throughout the body efficiently. 3, it increases energy and brain function. 4, it is the base for the formation of saliva and mucus. 5, it helps lubricate the joints. 6, assists muscles to function correctly. 7, maximizes physical performance, not exercise, physical performance. 8, cleanses and detoxifies the body. 9, treats short-term ailments such as constipation and acute inflammation. 10, extends life expectancy and the quality of life for elders. And for me and everyone else who sees themselves as furiously vegan, water is life. I'm going to have to, that's the next picture we have here in the book. The book is loaded with very inspiring photographs and pictures, great information. Next chapter begins with nutrition. When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need. That's an Ayurvedic statement. So week goes on. It goes on. I next talk about the 8 classes of essential nutrients. Furiously Vegan is a life imperative. And I just show pictures of my food all throughout the book, the key critical need for sleep, etc. And I'm going to wrap it up for right now. And there's me exercising, talking about my morning exercises. Exercise is a celebration of what your body can do. It's not a punishment for what you ate. So then, step 10, fasting and detoxing. There are 21 steps to restore youthful vitality. The book is called Furiously Vegan. Furiously Vegan. And it's a good book. It's really, I just reminded myself why I loved writing this book so much. And it doesn't sell. It doesn't sell very much. I don't understand what's up. People prefer to just stick on the pathway. They're not going to change their pathway. It's a $20 book. Everything I just read right now, everything I read is going to be good for you. It's going to change and challenge your life for the better, for the better. And it is undeniably worth a $20 investment. Undeniably. If you buy Furiously Vegan and you don't like it, send it back to me. Just don't crumple the pages. That way I can put it back in rotation. I'll buy it back. The next book I have in my hand is called The Blackest Soil. Africa Can Feed the World. This is a scientific blueprint for agricultural preeminence for the 21st century. Let me do the best I can to highlight what's in it. Highlights from this report include there is a new narrative we call Africa Rising, which is rapidly transforming the entire African continent, unleashing a pathway towards sustainable development that will astonish the world over the next coming 45 years. Now, this was written in 2020. So you can see I'm projecting out to the year 2065. Point 2, it's been widely forecast that African agricultural economics will expand between the years 2015 and 2030 threefold, reaching an annual value of $1 trillion in economic activity. This transformation signals the impending appearance of some $600 billion increased yearly economic activity over the $337 billion in agricultural output reported for 2015. If you know where $600 billion new dollars is going to show up on the planet involving black people, how much of that $600 billion new dollars annually are you going to be able to tap into? I'm doing my best. Are you doing your best? What I am doing will help us to get our share of $600 billion new annual income. I'm doing my part so that you and I can split that and benefit from $600 billion. Is it fair that I should ask you to do something as well? Such as invest $20 in a book? That's a serious question. Point 3, the rapid introduction of exponential technologies, innovation trends, demographic trends, and other vital transforming factors will result in dramatic changes in the status of sub-Saharan nations and their people's rise toward middle class. Point, with optimally transformed policies and practices, African arable soils can daily supply some 2,000 calories of organically produced food to as many as 12.9 billion people. 12.9 billion. On the planet, there are 8.9 billion people. So Africa can feed the world. The math is there, but we have to put the seeds in the soil, bring irrigation and water to it all, and also grow the appropriate foods. One of the most effective methods of assuring soil nutrition and maintaining plant species natural protection against pest threats is by fully activating the spectrum of healthy microorganisms that inhabit soil topography. Organic farming techniques provide the best means of counteracting long-term soil degradation caused by chemical fertilizers and pesticide usage. This book is so important, and this one's long. I began chapter 1. I want to feed the world. Every dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember that you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars, to change the world. Harriet Tubman. And another quote for me: as we reach for the stars, we must always remember that we stand upon the shoulders of giants like Harriet Tubman. I have a powerful, motivating mission. I want to feed the world. I've been guided along this pathway from birth. I suckled at my mother's breast long beyond the age of weaning. I learned from my father, an industrial chemist, how to grow fruit trees, a large garden, to turn surplus produce into income marketed to the local community. As well, he taught his sons, by example, to hunt, fish, not to hunt, to fish, hunt, and bargain for large amounts of food at a discount. I talk about the story when I left school. I began working immediately in a cellular biology laboratory for years. By that time, I was raising a family. I had advanced to the vegan lifestyle at age 33. And I skipped a paragraph. When I left school, I learned that training for decades as a musician, the Rastas taught me about Ital food, clean eating that would steer me towards vegetarianism at age 27. By the time I was raising a family, I had advanced to the vegan lifestyle at age 33. So skipping forward, now my position is crystal clear. I want to feed the world. Using food as nature's most perfect medicine, we're moving forward. I skipping parts of it and a little out of context, but chapter 2, Africa can feed the world. That's a given. That is fact. Africa can feed the world. Will Africa feed the world? It depends on the behaviors of Africans. Every one of us has a stake in this future. I began this chapter with a quote from Marcus Messiah Garvey. He says, the thing to do is to get organized. Keep separated, and you will be exploited. You will be robbed. You will be killed. Get organized, and you will compel the world to respect you. Marcus Garvey, from the Philosophy and Opinions of. Going forward, we're talking about numbers, a bunch of bullet points here to open the chapter. Collectively, the 55 nations within the African Union comprise a total landmass of 11,724 million square miles. That's 30,000.365 square kilometers. No, that's not 11,000. 11,000. Yeah, 11,724 million square miles. And I don't think that's right. The collective lands of the African Union countries, which are planning a continental federation in the middle of the 21st century, would thus be 1.85 times larger than Russia, currently the world's largest nation. Africa's landmass is larger than the collective landmass of China, Canada, the United States, and Argentina, with enough spare to squeeze in Croatia as well. And I'm skipping over this a little bit. There's a lot, it's so dense in here. Not only was Africa depleted of its youth for centuries, talk about the transatlantic enslavement. And here, let me put a number on that. At present, the demographic dividend is unquestionably moved to a great advantage to the African Union for the centuries ahead. During the dominant periods of enslavement and colonization, the size of the populations of Europe and Asia grew significantly higher than did the population of continental Africa. According to my calculations, had the people of Africa been left undisturbed by Arab and European imperialist intervention, the people of the continent of the period of decolonization in the early 1960s could have had more than an additional 600 million inhabitants. As well, we must consider that these interlopers kidnapped youth at the most important time of entering their prime productive and creative years. This stolen population contributed many trillions of value to Western agricultural supremacy. Not only was Africa depleted of its youth for centuries, but its technological development was deliberately diverted as well. The critical research by Guyanese scholar Walter Rodney in his book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, details how the entire continent was deliberately exploited and undeveloped by European colonial regimes to their economic advantage and of significant detriment to African people. Within the American economy alone, black scientists have contributed substantial inventions and innovations that have changed societal development. Toward the success of American agroeconomics, these inventions and innovations by blacks include: 1. Henry Blair patented 2 devices in the United States for a corn planter and a cottonseed planter. Henry Blair was an inventor and farmer best known as the second African American to hold a U.S. patent. Synopsis: Henry Blair was born in Glen Ross, Maryland in 1807. He was an African American farmer who patented 2 devices designed to help boost agricultural productivity. Point 2. George Washington Carver. Dr. Carver contributed multiple innovations that benefited American agriculture, including crop rotation, biological regeneration of the soil, nitrogen fixing through legumes, and increasing yield per acre. Dr. Carver also taught the value of composting for soil revitalization. Carver's participation with Booker T. Washington at Tuskegee University and later Henry Ford of the Ford Motor Company contributed many innovations to the progress of agroeconomics in the U.S. This is to include the use of soybean oil and industrial hemp materials for fuel and materials manufacturing. Booker T. Whatley. Another Tuskegee professor, Whatley developed a spectrum of techniques for farmers to increase yield, minimize farming costs, regenerate soil, maximizing income, achieve sustainability, and other valuable lessons. His book, How to Make $100,000 Farming 25 Acres, published in 1987, propagated his, quote, 10 Commandments of Farming. His idea of what he called a clientele membership club formed the basis of what is now known as community-supported agriculture, CSA, wherein people become members of a collective. CSA members' dues support the farmers who distribute their produce among members of the group. CSAs are becoming increasingly popular. One more. Frederick McKinley Jones, regarded as the inventor of refrigerated truck transport. Foods, supermarket, which were all derived from the work of Frederick Jones. Value nutritious foods, and if African governments can work more closely with agribusinesses to feed the region's fast growing urban population. According to a new World Bank report launched today, according to the Growing Africa Unlocking the Potential of Agribusiness report, Africa's food systems, currently valued at $313 billion a year from agriculture, could triple if governments and business leaders Black consumerism, I write this chapter entitled, subchapter, Black consumerism is bad for African people. As I write this chapter, I'm several weeks into compiling and calculating the most up-to-date data on the 2019-2020 holiday shopping season. I've been conducting this exercise for the last 5 years toward the aim of projecting the capacity of society and especially the African American ethnic group to redirect existing spending patterns into sustained wealth development. It is frequently touted in black serving media that Afri-Amers have reached as high as one power. 1 second. Let me clear my nose one more time. Mute my microphone. I'm going to turn it back on when I finish this time out. My beloved sister, Africa One. Where is my button? There it is. Mute. Unmute after blowing. There are several problems with this thinking of black consumer spending in the U.S. and group economic wealth. One big problem is that a reported 2.6 million black-owned businesses, according to the federal census reports, are producing a disproportionately small share of what we have been consuming. This group of 52.4 million blacks in the U.S., to include 4.173 million black immigrants, along with those listed as, quote, mixed race black, is spending 1.385 trillion in annual consumption. That was a few years ago. That was in 2020. Now the figure, as of end of 2025, it reached $1.93 trillion. From 1.385 in 2020 to 1.93 trillion in 2025. That's ridiculous. So it's spending 1.385 trillion in annual consumption. Businesses owned by the group currently produce less than $200 billion annually in products and services. Thus, we calculate for every $7 that comprise our consumer spending, black-owned businesses provide only about $1 of products and services. We are spending $7 to make one. We might see that as a formula of catastrophic failure over the long run. Most certainly, this deficit cannot produce the type of group economics that generates sustainable wealth. This gross imbalance is quite apparent when it comes to the high proportion of group consumption, which results directly from the vigorous increase in spending over the winter holiday shopping season. Putting this into context, according to statistics which I have been calculating for the 2019-2020 shopping season for African American consumers, the following 5 points are critically important. Point 1. We will presume that the increase in consumption year on year for blacks would closely reflect the same trends that affect the nation. According to reports from multiple reporting agencies, the most recent holiday shopping season demonstrated an increase this year estimated at from 3.4% to as much as 4.1% growth for 2019, over 2019. Point. When we are discussing holiday shopping spending, we are demonstrating an increase above average year-long spending. These holiday representations are above our regular, ordinary year-long expenses and represent as much as 30% of annual sales during the seasonal period. That's November and December. Point. Holiday shopping 2019-2020 at a glance. Americans spent over $700 $54 billion during November and December 2019 on holiday shopping. That's all Americans. This raises to $1.05 trillion for the extended shopping season, which spans the end of October through the first weeks of the new year. Point 4. According to my projections, Afri-Amer shopping is expected to be confirmed at $67.2 billion for November and December 2019, above our year-long spending pattern. This rises to an estimated $88 billion over the extended period. And last point, while organizations such as the National Retail Foundation, the world's largest retail trade association, are quick to demonstrate how these increases in holiday consumer spending are good for the United States national economy and the business community, one will be hard-pressed to make a similar claim to the long-term wealth accumulation potential for the black community and the status of black-owned businesses in the U.S. Black consumerism is bad, 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 bad for black businesses. And for African One, she says, sound is back, sound dipping in and out, mostly out. You may want to reboot your listening page that you're on. That many times does clear out the problems with sounds. And if that doesn't work, you want to turn off any additional pages that are on the internet, as they will sap away the bandwidth. So then we start to talk about foreign direct investment. Personally, I say Africans from the diaspora should commit to foreign FDI, foreign direct investment, and invest that money into African agriculture. My recent book, talk about bio-colonialism, talked about what's happening with the others. The others are doing it, and they're kicking our Umoja butts. We should compete against them. There are billions of dollars rushing into African development. One of the favorites within my bookshelf focus on this exciting research and data supporting the theme of Africa Rising. Quote, the fastest billion, the story behind Africa's economic revolution, contains numerous revelations regarding the pace of change across the continent. The following excerpt allows us insight into the excitement which African agroeconomics is generating from the beginning to the end of the 21st century. Quote, from the book, the dawn of the 21st century has coincided with a surge in global food prices, don't we know that? Due to rising wealth in emerging markets, the shift of Chinese rural workers to cities, and America's biofuel policies. It also led to a new trend of foreign investment in agriculture, from Gulf states investing in Sudan's Nile Valley to the ill-fated attempt by one Korean company to purchase an agricultural land in Madagascar. For the first time in decades, the world has looked to Africa as an exporter of food. Renaissance sees huge opportunity for Africa to benefit from this growing demand. The UN Food and Agricultural Organization estimates the additional land required to feed a larger and richer world in 2050 at only 71 million hectares. Meanwhile, the World Bank believes 400 million hectares of unused agricultural land could be tapped by Africa to feed not only itself, but the rising demand of the rest of the world too. Productivity improvements are already rising faster than in Asia and have large room to improve. Nigeria's dynamic new Minister for Agriculture, with his plans for accelerating investment in agriculture, and that talk about Adesina Akinwumi, is indicative of a marketed trend across Africa to encourage a sector that was too often ignored in the first decades after decolonization. And that's a very important, I hope you did follow me and understand, but it's talking about change. This chapter 4, is really about foreign direct investment and where the money is going and what the money is producing. There are billions of dollars rushing into Africa. We cannot avoid that. Increasing urbanization in the U.S. is predicted to reduce the nation's arable land base from its present 400 million acres to 350 million acres by 2050. America is running out of farmland, and what farmland is left is being bought up by the billionaire class. Because of the impact on soybean farmers from these Trump-administered policies of the first administration, USDA has had to increase subsidies to those affected, spending as much as $28 billion over the past 2 years since China cut imports. Modern technology-based monoculture farming using standard fertilizers has resulted in topsoil erosion and the diminishing of soil quality. Only organic farming methods maintain the complete integrity of nature, of native soils from each previous generation of harvest. This is so very important. I'm wondering, have I been reading these books too fast? I know I've been doing the best I can to just get you interested of what's in each book. Although the numbers started off good, and I did put out 2 new books this month. As of tomorrow, Tuesday, I will be receiving my 3rd new book, which is a book of, like Furiously Vegan, has a lot of graphics and pictures in it. It's all graphics and pictures. But I have to ask the question, am I moving too fast? Because when I look at my book sales, they're not keeping it up. I said to myself I was going to double my efforts. As of February and March, I'm going to double my efforts. I have no more free time. I have no more free time. I work all day long, furiously, all day long, doing the best I can to keep moving forward. Eddie, help me out. You've been with me for some time. For Africa One, Brother Shabaka, I'm not asking you for money. I just need you to console me. Tell me that people are listening, that people are motivated, that you have tell me that it's profoundly changed your life, your mind. As I read these things, I put so much passion in this book. This book came out in the first 4 months after the COVID pandemic shut down everything, and I lost, you lost, we all lost a whole lot of income. But I committed to this. I said, but this is going to change it all. I can keep reading. Begins on page 29. China leads the world in African foreign development investment, FDI investment. China is leading the world in investing in our continent. And the amounts that they're investing, they are definitely not outside of the realm of the 1.385 billion we spent at the same time. In fact, the money we spent for Christmas holiday shopping was almost the exact same amount China spent on foreign direct investment in Africa. So we're going to do better, or else we will cease to exist. It's kind of come down to that. It is an existential question. Chinese interests, including state and private enterprises, began investing in Africa in a significant way in the mid-1970s. It was circa 1975 that Chinese workers and engineers began collaborating with the SADC nation of Zambia to mine in the Zambian copper belt, as well as to construct the Tazara Railway, a major engineering aid project, to join the Zambia copper mines to the East Africa coastal port of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. In the initial years after China's businessmen began pouring into Zambia and engaging in mining enterprises, tensions arose between African laborers and their Chinese managers. There was a considerable gap in the social work standards and practices between people from two nations, which came to open conflict by the 2010s. At the same time, dangerous working conditions for the miners, the failure of Chinese management to train indigenous managers, wage discrepancies, and differences in cultural communication all made it look like the Chinese would not be able to maintain long-term relationships with their African partners. Eventually, new working relationships evolved, and the Chinese People's Party-led government stepped in to improve relations with Zambia and other African countries. These countries have since become a prominent source of raw mineral resources that have become critical to the sustenance of China's rapidly expanding industrial manufacturing. Here's what the RAND Corporation revealed about deepening relations between China and African nations. Quote, Sino-African relations are a vibrant, two-way dynamic in which both sides adjust to policy initiatives and popular perceptions emanating from the other. RAND researchers have assessed Chinese and African goals, African perceptions of China, how China has adjusted its policies to address local reactions, whether the United States and China compete in the region, and how Washington and Beijing might actually cooperate to their mutual benefit. China's role in Africa defies conventional stereotypes and punchy news headlines. China is both a long-established diplomatic partner and a new investor in Africa. Chinese interests on the continent encompass not only natural resources, but also issues of trade, security, diplomacy, and soft power. China is a significant aid donor, but the scope, scale, and mode of Chinese aid practices are poorly understood and often misquoted in the press. And it goes on and on. This is a huge chapter of China's activities, foreign direct investment, and sustainable development in Africa. It's a very important. I'll just close. There are a bunch of bullet points I share. I'll share the last two. Bullet point. In return for strong support of sustainable development policies, African governments continue to support the Beijing Consensus. Ooh, that's so important. Which is the Chinese aid and investment alternative to the Washington Consensus. That used to be a question I would ask people to find out, how much do you really know about Africa? Tell me the distinction between the Beijing Consensus and the Washington Consensus. And they could not tell me. So it shows you the book was necessary. We need to know these things. The Washington Consensus dominance of developmental framework implemented by the IMF and the World Bank over the latter 20th century. And last bullet point, finally, China has been expanding its overseas military posture in concordance with its new economic superpower status. It has constructed its first military base in the Horn of African nation of Djibouti. The move is to counter U.S. and EU postures in the highly sensitive and potentially volatile trade corridors of Northeast Africa. With this naval base in Africa, China is seeking to stabilize long-term economic and trade capacity in this region, spanning the bridge between Asia and Africa. It goes on and on and on. It talks about trade is bilateral. Amiri Daoui, in a blog entitled "Who is Africa's Largest Trading Partner?" reported that, quote, the secret of such successful collaboration seems to be the exchange of goods between them in a mutually beneficial way. China increased its export of electronics, communication equipment, and vehicles in Africa, since these types of goods are the most needed there. Meanwhile, Africa exported natural resources to support China's increasing population. Among those resources China imported from African countries, petroleum, iron, copper, and other metals. I write, China is not only Africa's biggest trading partner, but the biggest investor as well. Chinese state and non-state entities have made significant investments into seaports, airports, railway lines, and train stations, transportation corridors, energy generation, hospitals, along with vehicle manufacturing. These investments have largely facilitated the export of mostly raw materials from Africa to be transported to East Asia. These raw materials facilitate industrial production in China, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, India, and other newer industrial powerhouses. The expansion in African infrastructure has facilitated the increase in critical areas of sustainable development in technology, education, production for domestic consumption, healthcare, energy generation, and other critical areas of sustainable development. Food imports from China into Africa mainly involve rice. Other vital imports include machinery, mobile communications, computer technology, plastics, chemicals, in addition to a spectrum of commonly used consumer goods. By every calculation, trade between China and all member states of the African Union can be expected to continue to expand over the decades ahead, satisfying the needs of Africa's expansive population over the next 30 years is an essential driver to growth in trade relations. And it goes on. It goes on and on. It's a lot. The book is dense. Now I'm going to skip forward a bunch of chapters and let's talk about organic farming. The book is entitled The Blackest Soil, which deals with organic farming. You get black soil because the microbes are living in the soil. This chapter is chapter 13, Organic Farmers. And I do say this, in the previous chapter, it closes with, the chapter is called Our Agri-Biotech for Africa's Future. And I close with just this quote. Marcus Garvey said, "Be proud of your race today, as our fathers were in the days of yore. We have a beautiful history, and we shall create another in the future that will astonish the world." We take those words very seriously. I see Chaos Rain Show is in the house. Hello, everybody in the chat room. What's good, bro? And what good? And we're talking about the two books today, Furiously Vegan, 21 Steps to Restore Youthful Vitality. We covered that in the first hour. And now we have about 20 more minutes covering this book, extensive book. This is entitled The Blackest Soil. Africa Can Feed the World, a scientific roadmap to agricultural preeminence for the 21st century. And on page 118, chapter 13 is entitled Organic Farming. And I began with a quote, as usual, this one from Vandana Shiva, founder of the Research Foundation for Science, Technology, and Ecology. And she's a powerful, powerful Indian woman. She's really awesome. She wrote, "Globalized, industrialized food is not cheap. It is too costly for the earth, for the farmers, for our health. The earth can no longer carry the burden of groundwater mining, pesticide pollution, disappearance of species, and the destabilization of the climate. Farmers can no longer carry the burden of debt, which is inevitable in industrial farming with its high costs of production. It is incapable of producing safe, culturally appropriate, tasty, quality food. And it is incapable of producing enough food for all because it is wasteful of land, water, and energy. Industrial agriculture uses 10 times more energy than it produces, and thus 10 times less efficient." From Vandana Shiva. And I'm talking about my emergence as an organic horticulturalist. There's a lot to that story. It begins really with my childhood story. The high point of our garden was 7 rows of strawberries, which prospered in the seasonal weather of Ohio summers. Our father's rule was that we would fill up our household with berries frozen and made into jams, and then we would sell the surplus. We had the local franchise on fresh strawberries, which we sold within our neighborhood of 21 households that had migrated together from the city, as well as local town of 2,300 residents where we attended school. And that's just a little bit of that. I'm not going to do too much biography reading right now. One day I'm going to comprise all this and make a biography, but not today. My ambitions have become amplified as I increasingly apply the many gifts and talents that have risen in my life. Now, my massive transformative purpose, MTP, has become clarified, and I see myself as bold and world-changing. Please bear with me as I shout it out. I want to feed the world. I want to feed the world healthy food, delicious and nutritious, organic, fresh, and colorful meals for all times of the day. I want every child on this planet to have access to a daily caloric intake of at least 2,000 calories of high-quality foods that complement their perfect health, nutrition that builds secure immune systems, and robust brain development. I want everyone who has access to sun, soil, and water to have the experience of putting their hands into the earth regularly and enjoying the same engagement which compelled Dr. George Washington Carver, as it also has myself. I even trained myself to become an award-winning culinary artist and clinical nutritionist. Such is this fascination with all the many things, varied glories of horticulture and food processing, along with botany, cell biology, nutrition, disease prevention, longevity, and high-quality living. And then we have to protect the public from food toxicity. There are many reasons for committing to organic food production. Primary among these reasons is that this is the most natural way to produce food that doesn't assault biological systems. Within nature, numerous systems are disturbed, injured, or destroyed by chemical farming. These include the problems associated with reproduction that are caused by endocrine disrupting chemicals, EDCs, a broad set of chemicals that mimic or disrupt the function of hormones in human and animal species. Non-organic farming of meat for humans uses significantly increases exposure to EDCs, as well as in general, increasing production and consumption of livestock has proven stressful to all aspects of societal and environmental health. I cite this from statistics from Conscious Capitalism, I think it's from, by John Mackey and Raj Sosidia. Many of the most serious environmental issues the planet faces are intimately connected to global livestock production. In 2006, United Nations Food and Agricultural Association, FAO, produced Livestock's Long Shadow, a lengthy report on these topics. This report documented some startling statistics. Point 1, 30% of the entire Earth's land surface is now being used for animal production. Point 2, 33% of all grains harvested are fed to livestock animals. Point 3, 70% of all soybeans harvested are fed to livestock animals. Point 4, 70% of all deforested Amazonian rainforests is used for pasture. Point 5, 33% of all water pollution in the United States is due to livestock production. And point 6, 18% of all greenhouse gases come from livestock production, more than all forms of transportation combined. 18% of all greenhouse gases comes from livestock production. And what's the source on that? Conscious Capitalism, Liberating the Heroic Spirit of Business by John Mackey and Raj Sisodia, Harvard Business School of Publishing. It goes on. A brief history of organic farming. We talk about that. There's no need to go over that right now. The following is an abbreviated history of the emergence of organic farming. I guess I will. A few bullet points. The first revolution in agriculture began around 10,000 BC as humans transitioned from hunter and gathering societies to societies that settled and grew food for sustenance. Point two, at the turn of the 18th century, Great Britain becomes the center of what historians have labeled the agricultural revolution, introducing technologies such as mechanical seed planting, large-scale monoculture of potatoes and maize, land allocation, legislation which displaced small-scale sustainable sustenance cropping. Point three, in the early 1900s, Sir Albert Howard, having observed natural agricultural practices in India, introduces to the United Kingdom several techniques which are today hallmarks of organic agriculture. These newly introduced organic methods include the use of composted animal manure as a soil amendment, cover crops, crop rotation, and biologically based pest controls, all of which were promoted in his 1947 book, The Soil and Health, a study of organic agriculture. And one more point, there are a number of points here. In 1939, another British scientist, Lady Eve Balfour, created an organic farm experimentation field laboratory in England that was called the Hawley Experiment. It is noted as the pioneering station to demonstrate side-by-side comparisons between conventional farming and sustainable organic systems. She published her findings in the book, The Living Soil, which led to the formation of the Soil Association and International Organic Farming Promotional Group. And it goes on and on. There's some good information. Let me give it one more point. In 1962, Rachel Carson's explosive book, Silent Spring, exposed the impact of chemicals in the environment as significant disruptors to humans and animal species. Carson was a prominent scientist and naturalist. Her work pointed to grave dangers from the use of DDT and other chemical pesticides, which eventually led to the U.S. government banning the use of DDT in 1972. So there's a few more pages of bullet points. It's all good. It's really good. What are the tenets of organic agriculture? I have been gardening organically for 4 decades. I engaged this year long at my home. Over these decades, I have had the opportunity to direct the installation of dozens of gardens and orchards across the U.S. Every such food growing operation that I have become involved with was created as an organic system. I have since become aware that some of the owners of these lands eventually backslid and used chemicals when plant pests became problematic. I always encourage these landowners to remain committed, steadied, and vigilant to maintain the full organic integrity of their food-producing operation. There are certain foundational hallmarks which constitute organic agriculture. Without a doubt, covering all of the tenets of organic food production warrants the attention of an entire book to detail the practices thoroughly. I have a whole shelf of books on the topic, and each teaches in a manner significantly unique from others that occupy my library. In as brief an explanation as possible, I will highlight some of these foundational tenets of organic agriculture based upon the personal experience that I have gained in my G.W. Carver Organic Gardening Laboratory, my backyard, over these few decades. Point: Organic farm practices center on disciplined maintenance of soil integrity. Point 2. Successful composting is one of the great sources of pride for the experienced organic gardener. Point 3. Most organic gardeners go out of their way to obtain heirloom seed stocks. We avoid all GMO seeds and tend to be cautious about many of the hybrid seeds which are commonly sold. Point 4. Preservation of healthy soil microorganisms requires the organic gardener to carefully select the soils into which the crop is to be sown. Soils that have been contaminated by chemical fertilizers, household chemicals, cleaning fluids, and weed killers are to be avoided for at least 3 years after the last exposure to these toxins. Point 5. As annoying as insects and other pests can be during the growing season, the maintenance of zero use of chemical pesticides is a sacred policy for the organic food producer. While it certainly is convenient and inexpensive to reach for chemicals to beat back pestilence, it is the careful and loving attention to the crops that motivates an organic producer to seek other solutions. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. A couple more pages. Avoid the use of biosolids, such as composted sewage sludge. Although it has been processed through composting, it nonetheless contains a spectrum of petrochemical traces, pharmaceutical drugs, toxic heavy metals, and flame retardants, all of which can remain toxic after composting has broken down the larger mass. And last point, most species have evolved with a complex interplay of sun, soil, and water, along with realizing a diversity of proximate species interacting in symbiosis to maintain the natural immunity of these connected life forms. In a natural setting, pests and parasites cannot be eliminated entirely. Yet there exists a long-term balance that allows for the permanence of biodiversity. Working within this natural order of species symbiosis, we can maximize the performance of the particular cultivars that are the object of our investment. And we're getting near the end of the program. I'm going to have to zip forward to the last chapter of the book. Again, we're talking about organic farming. The next chapter is entitled Leapfrogging, a Century of Invasive Farm Practices. I'll just share one quote from Francis Botha, Forbes magazine. The African continent has certainly faced its fair share of challenges in recent decades. But with the trend for emerging economies helping to drive progress in many parts of the world, Africa is now embracing a technological change that is transforming the continent and even leading the way with innovation. That's a very important chapter 14. Chapter 15 is entitled Food Scarcity for the 21st Century. And I'm going to end with this chapter. Total mobilization with a Pan-African Agricultural Development Institute. I am now instigating the Pan-African Agricultural Development Institute, PAADI. The inspiration for this functional organization emerges from a strong motivation to honor our great ancestors, whose contributions to our sustainable development was noteworthy. Among those great ancestors whose names must be noted are included the botanist scientist George Washington Carver, his sponsor at Tuskegee Institute, Booker T. Washington, the great scholar W.E.B. Du Bois, who repatriated to Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, and others from across the diaspora. And I will include Wangari Maathai, the Nobel Prize winning scientist, who really is the one who has initiated sustainable agriculture and the green belt, the idea of the green belt. To best accomplish the goals laid out in this book, there are several categories of direct actions that are of the highest priority. These priorities must compel many specific actions, tactics, and strategic investments necessary to produce the outcomes we require. As this institute, PADI, is being constructed, it will have 6 primary areas of focus. 6 primary priority categories guide this extended group of actions that we can instigate toward the fulfillment of the broader strategic program. I list these priorities in alphabetical order. We must understand the critical importance of each and realize that they are all interrelated. The 6 broad categories are agricultural optimization, agroeconomics, enhanced production, policy prioritization, resources management, and technical implementation. I give a brief assessment of these 6. Point 1, farmer education mobility. Mobile apps, bulletins, mobile classrooms, primary and secondary schools, college scholarships, graduate field studies from HBCUs. Point 2, biotech and hybridization, plant laboratories, natural flora classification, the research of allelochemicals, combining specific compatible species for higher yield and disease resistance. Point 3, natural pest controls. Accessing strategies developed by organic farming agencies around the world, as well as emerging best practices that apply to the specificity of the geography and the topography of sub-Saharan African agricultural lands. Point 4, soil quality testing. Testing for pH levels, the presence of possible contaminants, knowing the NPK balance of soils, and assisting farmers in selecting the best conditions within which to invest their crops. Soil microbiota research. We realize that a complex biological community that resides below the soil surface has a significant impact on the growth, nutritional value, and disease resistance of crops. Point, organic certification. In the new global economy, organically produced food will be marketed at a premium price. It is thus essential to develop laboratory technical capacity to assure all certification agencies that our produce meets the highest standards for quality. That's absolutely certain. Next point, organic fertilizers. From basic composting to extracting nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium using clean sources towards presenting a healthier alternative to chemical-based NPK fertilizers, which are known to impact the complex soil microbiota negatively. And last, one more point, superfoods production. These are the foods that are known to have the highest content of critical nutrients and are delivered in the most bioavailable means possible. Superfoods save lives and increase vitality. Superfoods represent food as nature's most perfect medicine. Then I have a chapter called agroeconomics. Another one, enhanced production. I talk about, these are the 6 categories. Policy prioritization, resources management, and technical implementation. So it goes on and on. Conclusion, I have done my best within this chapter to emphasize the power of total mobilization of all available skills and resources to fulfill the ultimate ambitions of nations intending to solve their most challenging problems. There can be no denying that within a global population of more than 1.614 billion people of African heritage in the world today, we have the needed brilliant scientists, competent growing authorities, and the sufficient human capital to develop a preeminence in agriculture. This is a vast pool of talent. We can accomplish it within all areas of social progress and sustainable development. And on that note, I'm going to give you the last 2 paragraphs. 3, we are the generation that our great ancestors always dreamed would arrive, and they gave everything within their power to bring to fruition. We are the seed, the plant, and the flower of a new beginning for the excellence of African agriculture or Africans in all aspects of humanity and sustainable development. And lastly, with all these empowering values stirring our souls and bodies to action, we step forward boldly and deliberately. We have a single-mindedness of purpose and conviction. Africa can feed the world. The book is The Blackest Soil. Africa can feed the world. You can't see it. It's on a green cover. But this is true. And we do salute you all. Thank you for being with us today. I appreciate you. You know you are greatly appreciated. We're going to wrap it up from there. And I'm going to take you out with just a little tour of the books that we have out. We are a great people. And great people do what is required of us. As we move forward, there is so much that is on our agenda. Tell your friends to tell their friends to tune in with us tomorrow. We're going to be back again, and we're going to bring it strong. We're going to bring it real strong. Two new books are available, The Conscious Roots, and today I'm shipping out a large group of my second book, Biocolonialism, The Technocratic War on African Fertility and Food. Then later this week, after Thursday, I will finally see my third brand new book. And believe it or not, my fourth new book, I've already started it. And it'll probably be out in less than 2 weeks. I'll tell you about that new book very soon. You're going to love it. You're going to see it's so important as well. Because no one has done what is in my new book. So don't you even think about going nowhere. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LB Radio, LB TV. We are livinginblack.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.